And in this year that has passed, if you are young, you have grown taller, and if you are older, you have grown a little bit more older, and hopefully we all, young or old, regardless, have grown a little bit more wiser. And this new year, as we welcome, we would want to make a strong aspiration for ourselves and then for the world. And in my own mind, what seems to be the most important, as always, when I wake up in the morning of the Losar, is what I can do to go deeper into my own spiritual practice this year. To have this accomplishments of peace and harmony and a deep sense of joy and meaning of living in this wonderful world of ours. Now, without that, life, just as the years passing, as we know, could be just simply living without much of a deeper meaning of what this precious human life can offer for all of us. Now with that, then whatever the challenges that there is in life, because you have achieved the peace and harmony and the joy and the meaningful to be able to live as you intended. The challenges and the struggles makes it all more worth it. Now for us who are in the spiritual path, that kind of a peace, that kind of a harmony, that kind of a joy, that kind of a meaning has to come from independent of outside, independent of circumstances. That our karma brings it to us. What's in the environment, what's in our lives, what is in our sort of immediate experience of what we are faced with. Now that can only come from the wisdom of the Dharma. That can only come from applying the wisdom of the Dharma upon our own body, speech and mind, and particularly applying the wisdom of the Dharma in our own mind. Now, applying the wisdom of the Dharma to one's mind in itself is a huge challenge. In itself is a lot to learn and lot to know and lot to comprehend. But the faith that there is a way to do so, even though one is not always there, the faith that there is a way to do it so and then thus trying to learn from the teachings, from the examples of the great masters, from our own smaller experiences of how we have been able to work with our own mind to achieve the state of peace, to achieve the harmony and the joy and the meaning in our daily practices of the practice of the Dharma and the wisdom of the Dharma. When all is well, we must have found some peace. We must have found some harmony. We must have found some joy and meaning to do the practice of the Dharma. Otherwise, why would one be a practitioner in the first place? Now, if that is the case, that one has found that, if that is the case that one has found all of those, then it has to extend beyond the good times. It has to extend to the times when actually you feel shaky with your own physical health, maybe not so good, or maybe some obstacles have fallen in your lives, or just in the environment. There is a lot of turbulence. Just as the world is always going through phases of turbulence. One has to be able to extend one's practice, not only to find all of those in one's mind, in one's life, in the good times, but in the difficult times, in the challenging times as well. And then being able to do so, then you could only gain the confidence. You could only have a sense of accomplishment. You could only have a sense of certitude that can maybe perhaps then extend to one's life. Not only just in the good times, but in the difficult times as well. And particularly, as we get older, the four rivers, birth, old age, sickness, and death, are going to be a common experience for all of us to go through. One river merges to another and becomes bigger. And then those two rivers merges to the third river and it gets bigger. And those three rivers merges to the fourth river and it gets to be a bigger. So in that, then one can really think that what one has lived here on this earth and what one has done here to accomplish can be taken with us beyond this life, into the next life. And then in the lifetimes to come, then we could really be, just as we are promised to have the Buddha nature, just as we are promised with the Buddha nature, if one actually strives, if one strives well, without obstacles, that the Buddhahood is to come. Enlightenment is to come in the lifetimes, is to be assured. And assured it is with these lives that we have as a starting point, as a means to achieve the Buddhahood. So in this way, then this life not only just is meaningful for oneself to be able to live and have the days and months and the years to be able to live well, but it could become a great benefit for oneself and a benefit for humanity, benefit for many countless of beings. And the service, what one can actually provide for others in that way, service that what one can actually be to others, to be a guide, a friend, a refuge. Is going to be more meaningful, greater joy, and greater satisfaction than what one initially achieves for oneself. Now, this kind of a double fold of achievements, the benefit for the self and the benefit for the others, can only come if one has the aspirations, if one have the intentions, if one has the in one's heart that burning kind of fire to make this life in that way. It just doesn't happen on its own. But with the intention and aspirations, and with the burning fire of a passion to be on the spiritual path that can have a double benefit for the oneself, to be free, and benefit for the others, to be a refuge. Then, I think it really doesn't matter whether you are man or woman, whether you are child or adult, or whether you are adult with the capacities to do things in the world as your youth allows you, or you have no much of a capacities because one is getting older or have reached to a stage of old age. It doesn't matter whether one has a means of wealth or power, or one lacks those. It doesn't matter what your culture background is, what your upbringing is, what is your sexual orientation is. Anyone with this kind of a burning fire in their mind and in their heart can soon for sure achieve the state of enlightenment. And that is really why we are here. And that is why we are on the spiritual path. Even if it takes 100 lifetimes, making a 1% progress in each of those 100 lifetimes, in 100 lifetimes, we will become enlightened. And those 100 lifetimes, making a 1% progress in the spiritual path makes that life great and meaningful. Just as the lives that the Buddha and the great sages of the past have taken lives prior to becoming a Buddha, prior to becoming sages as they are known. It is not that at once they became Buddha in one lifetime. There were lifetimes before. And what they did, the progress that they made, and what carried on into the next life, ultimately made them become the Buddha or the sages, as we know, the Guru Rinpoche, or Avalokiteshvara, or Tara, or Arya Nagarjuna, or many of the great masters like the Longchenpa, or the Jigme Lingpa, who is the founder of the Longchen Yingtik lineage. So, this is what my aspiration is, without failing. I make these aspirations for the new year, and I actually urge and make a strong plea to you all to make similar aspirations for yourself. Make aspirations that will carry you lifetimes. And bring you the greatest outcome and the results. Do not forsake your great aspirations for some small, insignificant gains of merely that has some meaning while we are only on this earth. And sacrifice the greater aspirations and the meaning that one holds dear in one's heart. Times of challenge, times of one's own temptations, times of one's own weakness is the times when one has to self-reflect deeply and one has to rise above the challenges. And having done so, one can only be so-called true to one's cause, true to one's own deep aspirations, not just being influenced to join the mass for the sake of just joining what mass is doing. So, the path of the enlightenment, outcome of one's own spiritual path, as if it is to become our enlightenment, it cannot be a lame choice that we make as what is being done by the mass. It has to be something of your own deep and individual conviction being involved. And deep in your own conviction, that is being rooted in the wisdom of not just your own, but wisdom of sages of the past throughout the history. It's a tall order to embrace such wisdom and fill in such shoes. But only filling in such shoes, only embracing such tall order of our wisdom and aspirations, we can achieve enlightenment. And that much we must have a confidence in ourselves. That we are not alone to be on the path. There has been many great number of sages on this same path who has faced the challenges of samsara and overcome them. And we as well can do that too. And thus doing it so, we will become like them, and we will leave legacies, and we will inspire others in the future to follow the footsteps of what we have left behind. That kind of confidence in oneself is not an arrogance. It's actually trust in the wisdom. It's a trust in the legacies that has been left by other human beings before us. And that kind of a trust is in our own self as a human being who strives to be more than just merely a human being who walked on the earth and lived for oneself. We can have that kind of confidence in ourselves. And we must have that kind of confidence in ourselves. And with the aspirations and the confidence, and with the time in our hand, especially as we get older, when our responsibilities are lesser and lesser to carry on the burden of everyday work to support the family or the dependent ones that one needs to provide. It is all, really, to look from this point of view, is nothing but a joyful journey. Joyful journey in the accomplishments of the spiritual path that one always intended to give much of your time and life to. So, this earth dog, Losar, as it is said, dogs are the best friend of humans. I hope much of a friendship with as His Holiness Dalai Lama says, in order to have any positive relationship with the world and others, in any field of a give and take, let it be in the government level, let it be in the geopolitics of the governments of the world, let it be in the business world, let it be in the social work, let it be in the education, let it be in the family, let it be in the communities, let it be in the just couples. A friendship is required. And what is the most important thing that depends that friendship to be a true friendship is a trust. Being able to trust one another with some form of ease and genuine relaxation with one another. So, hopefully, as this earth dog representing a great friendship to a human, may such friendship in all levels prevail in this world. And thus, this world becomes harmonious. And peaceful, and free of wars, famine, poverty. Free of natural disasters. By the grace of friendship that extends all across. Ones who are in haves to be able to help others who are not in haves. Ones who are in a power to help others who are not. And vulnerable. So may the earth, dog, Losar truly change the world for the better than where it was yesterday. And I wish you all very, very happy Losar. Omo benzanguru pema dondenza. You come here. Benza samayanza sede bala.